Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Odyssey Recaps, just the Tea edition. Today we are recapping book 19, titled by Emily Wilson as The Queen and the Beggar. Now, guys, this chapter is intense. It's more like a verbal chess match than anything else. It's got more layers than a parfait, but it's just as tasty and confusing. Is it a breakfast? Is it a dessert? We'll never know. Anyway, if you want a more in-depth explanation, head over to my below the surface recaps, which I do advise for this chapter because, oh boy, layers, man. So many layers. But for now, buckle up, grab your popcorn, maybe some wine, and let's dive in. So the suitors have all left for the night to go sleep off their hangovers, and Odysseus and Athena are in the hall just like cozily plotting away on how to kill them. Odysseus is still magically disguised as Odysseus, the old beggar, and the only person who knows his real identity is his son, Telemachus. So Odysseus goes to Telemachus and is like, bro, go find all the weapons and hide them. And when the dude bro suitors ask where they are, just tell them they were all like dusty or something. So you sent them to the dry cleaners. But they're also drunks with poor impulse control, and it's like never a good idea to mix those qualities with weaponry. So like tell them that too. Proving that even ancient Greek mythological figures understood the gun control debate a hell of a lot better than some people today do. Telemachus is like, bet. And then he calls his old nanny, Eurycleia, who again is a slave, which is messed up, and tells her to go and lock the other slave women in their rooms so they can't see what he's doing, which, aside from anything else, is a straight up fire hazard. But the nurse is also like, bet, and goes and like does it. Telemachus and Odysseus are like alone again and they're hiding all the weapons. And Telemachus is like, Dad, it's weirdly bright in here. I think a god may be helping us. And Odysseus is like, quiet boy, but like, he's right. Athena's secretly right there. So Odysseus tells Telemachus to go to bed before he can ask any more insightful questions. Odysseus says he's going to stay up because he needs to aggravate the slave girls and your mother and make her cry and let her question me. Like, okay, but at least he knows what he's doing, I guess. Either way, it's weird. I'm not a fan, but Penelope might be into it. It might be their thing. I don't know, man. I would say I'm not here to judge, but like I'm very much judging, so I don't know. I'm just not going to get involved in this whole thing. Anyway, Telemachus heads back up to bed, and then Penelope comes downstairs for her little fireside chat with Odysseus, and she is looking fine, like 10 alarm fire levels of hotness. She is the ghost pepper of queens. Her face card does not even know the meaning of the word decline. That is how good this woman is looking. Anyway, she comes down with all of her slave girls, and they start setting up some chairs in like a nice little area. But one of the slave girls is the same one that's sleeping with at least one of the suitors, and she starts being all mean to Odysseus again, just like sassing him and asking him why he's there, perving on them, and she tells him to like GTFO before she beats his ass. Odysseus is big mad and he starts sassing her back, and then Penelope like joins in and she calls the slave girl a brazen, shameless dog. Rude. Then she tells her that her sassiness will get her killed and she needs to butt out because Penelope wants to question the stranger about her missing husband. Then she turns to Odysseus and is like, so who are you? Who's your daddy? And Odysseus is like, OMG, how dare you ask me that? I'm a sad boy. Speaking about my tragic past would make me cry. Let's talk about something else. Penelope is like, no, I'm sad too. My husband never came back from battle and I miss him like so much. And these girls are slaves. We are all sad men. Like everyone up in here is sad. And then she starts telling him a particularly sad story to like trauma bond them, I guess. So she tells him about how she's trying super hard to avoid marrying one of the dude bros. And she told them like she couldn't possibly marry any of them until she finished weaving a burial shroud for her father-in-law, Laertes, who is very much alive, I might add, which seems a bit weird that you'd do the shroud like before they die. Although I guess with like a lack of refrigeration in morgues, you kind of want to have it ready. I don't know. Seems weird. But anyway, this plan worked for 3 years, which I've already talked about, but it's worth mentioning it again. 3 years. These absolute numpties didn't notice she wasn't making any progress for 1,095.75 calendar days. Maybe she should marry one of them. She could do whatever the hell she wanted. They'd never even notice. She could have like 3 double lives. Anyway, she keeps going and tells Odysseus that this worked until one of her own fickle dog-like slave girls narked on her and told the suitors, and they came and caught her and then stood around her screaming at her and made her finish it in front of them, which to be fair would be terrifying. And also just like a little tip to Penelope, maybe in the future don't enslave people and they'll keep your secrets better. Like, what did we learn from Jurassic Park? Pay your critical staff well so they don't unleash a horde of dinosaurs or drunk idiots on your ass. Anyway, I guess she didn't see Jurassic Park, and she just goes on talking about how she's managed to hold out this long against the suitors, but now she can't hold out anymore. And her parents and her son Telemachus, they all want her to just pick someone and marry them so she can leave, and Telemachus can salvage what he's got left and start building his own life. Then she's like, all right, that's my sad story. You go. Odysseus is like, oh, fine, you won't stop asking. Okay, so I'm from Crete, where all the sexiest people are from, and not to brag, but I am the grandson of King Minos. Yeah, that King Minos, the super famous one. And I met your husband on Crete. He got blown off course on his way to the Trojan War, and I helped him shelter out the storm. He's still super sexy, by the way, possibly the hottest man I've ever seen. Anyway, he chilled with us for like 13-ish days, and then he went on his merry way. Penelope is crying, and Odysseus is crying on the inside, watching her cry, but he like keeps it together on the outside. Penelope finally gathers herself and is like, cool. So, if you really saw him, describe him, his clothes, and his crew. Odysseus is like, well, like I said, he is super sexy, definitely sexier than any of the suitors, and he's like super muscular, but like in a hot way, not like in a too much way. He's the kind of guy goddesses would trap on sex islands, if you know what I'm saying. He was wearing this special purple cloak, and he had this like animatronic gold brooch thingy. Oh, and he was hanging out with his bestie Eurybates, who was kind of smart and like super smart, and looks kind of like Idris Elba, fine as I'll get out. And I want to point out here, just take a little moment, this is yet another explicit mention of black people existing in the Odyssey. So if you run into any of those, wow, we can't have people of color in adaptations of the Odyssey because only white people exist in this mythological story, you can tell them to stop being racist, whiny douchebags and try reading the book. Or maybe just don't be racist killjoys and let us all just have fun. I don't know. Anyway, Penelope hears this description and is like, OMG, that's totally him. And then she starts crying again, which is so fair. This would be super overwhelming. And also, it's healthy to feel your feelings, guys. I just hope she's hydrating, though, because that's a lot of loss of tears. Anyway, Odysseus tells her to stop crying before it ruins her skin, which, like, that's what sheet masks and ice rollers are made for, but whatever. Then he tells her he doesn't blame her for crying over her husband, who is a godlike hero, but she doesn't need to worry because he's coming home real soon. He just got, like, a little waylaid when Zeus sunk his ship because his crew ate the cattle of the sun god, and he was lost at sea for a bit, and then he washed up in Phaeacia, and they gave him some treasure and helped him home, and now he isn't just gathering more treasure, and he's gonna find, like, a sacred tree where Zeus will tell him in like sacred tree language whether he should come home in disguise or like openly come home. Now, you'll notice that in this recap he gave her, there's not a single mention of goddess-based sex islands anywhere, but I guess she doesn't need to know everything now. Anyway, he tells her not to worry that Odysseus isn't nearly home. He'll be there within the next lunar month. So yeah, she can stop crying now. Penelope's like, sure, Jan. If you're right, I'll give you a ton of rewards, but I am certain you're wrong. And then she orders the slave girls to go and wash Odysseus' feet and make him a super nice bed. And then in the morning, she wants them to like bathe and oil him up before sending him down to breakfast with Telemachus. But Odysseus is like, ew, no, I don't want anyone touching my feet. Unless you've got like a really old woman slave who could do it, that I'd be into. And Penelope's like, babe, I've got every kind of slave. And she calls up the slave who was Telemachus' old nanny, and it says she was also Odysseus's nanny. And not just his nanny, but this woman breastfed this man from birth. And she's still a slave. And they're super rude to her. Like, what? Anyway, Odysseus is super into this, but the poor slave woman is not into it. And she starts crying and said it's because she misses Odysseus. But I'd cry too if I was a slave in order to wash some rando's feet. But she starts washing his feet, and Odysseus is like, OMG, I wonder if she's going to notice my scar, which might seem like a weird question to ask, but remember that Athena has like magically disguised him, and he doesn't really know to what extent he's fully disguised, and she also might decide that it's a good idea to let this slave woman know who he is and feel a scar, but like he doesn't know what Athena's planning, so he just kind of like turns his face away from the light to hide any reaction he might have. So the slave woman starts washing his feet, and she like instantly feels the scar and knows that it is Odysseus because like she knows this man from birth. Then they go into a brief backstory about how he got the scar. Basically, he was hunting with his cousins while visiting his grandfather, and then he got like lightly gored by a giant boar who he then killed, and I really hope ate because you should not be wasting that meat. The slave woman recognizes the scar and is like overjoyed that the boy she raised from birth is back, and she's crying and touching his face and is like, OMG, Odysseus, my baby, my master, I'm so happy you're alive and back. And then she glances over at Penelope because she's like, cool, now we can all be happy. Let me tell her. And for Odysseus, this man, he grabs her by the throat non-consensually and whispers to her that if she outs him, he will murder her when he murders the dude bros and all the other slave girls who are on their side. Like, excuse me? So gross. Anyway, the poor slave woman is like, of course I wouldn't out you if you tell me not to. By the way, you don't have to kill all the slave women. I can tell you which ones are on your side and which ones aren't. And Odysseus is all like, no, I'll decide who's good and who's bad. And she's like, all right, I guess you do you, man. And then she just like silently finishes washing and oiling his feet and then like hides the scar and like wraps the rags all around it again. Now, Penelope, who had been put in like a brief fog by Athena so she wouldn't notice any of the whispered talk of scars and murder, is now like fog free and ready to chat. So she tells Odysseus that it's time to go to bed, but she hates bedtime because she can't distract herself with chores at night, and she just spends the whole night crying and missing her beloved husband. And then she says that she just has like one more little question for him. She asks him if he thinks she should stay here on Ithaca or if he thinks that she should just pick a suitor, marry them, and leave everything to Telemachus. She also said that she had a weird dream she wants to tell him about. She says she dreamed that there were 20 geese eating her grain, and then a giant eagle came down and just like tore their asses all up, just killed all of those geese. And then she was crying over the dead geese, but then the eagle like lands on the roof and is like, baby, it's me, your husband. Also, this isn't a dream, it's a vision, and the geese are your suitors, and I am your husband, and I'm gonna come back real soon and kill them all. And I'm like, girl, maybe slow down on the gummies before bed. And also, why are you asking him what it means? The dream eagle told you. It was super clear. He was very explicit about what the dream meant. Like, there's no room for error here. Anyway, Odysseus is thrilled and is like, OMG, that dream is totally real and it's coming true ASAP. They are all gonna die. It's gonna be like a John Wick movie up in here. Then Penelope is like, there are two gates that give us dreams. One gate is ivory and the dreams are lies. The other gate is horn and the dreams are true. This is definitely a lying ivory dream. And it's like, girl, seriously, less gummy, like less gummies. Just like have that dose. But also, again, if you've already decided it's a lie, why ask him unless it's a secret second test? There's actually a group of scholars who argue that like she knew that Odysseus is actually Odysseus, and this was like a way for her to get his opinion secretly in front of the slave girls without them knowing, like a coded thing. I don't know, but it would make a lot more sense if she did know, so I like that theory. Anyway, Penelope keeps going, and she says that she's going to set up a contest for the dude bro suitors where they have to do one of Odysseus's favorite things: string a giant bow and shoot an arrow through 12 axes in a single shot. This is what the dark times were like before the internet and Netflix, guys. All they had were these weird shooting competitions. It was so sad. Anyway, Odysseus is like, OMG, that's a great plan. None of them will be able to do it. Set it up ASAP. It'll be hilarious to watch them fail. Penelope is like, cool, all right, better go cry myself to sleep again. Later. And she heads off upstairs and does indeed cry until Athena gets fed up and just like magically puts her to sleep, which I wish she could do for me, please. And that's where the chapter ends. So, to recap, everyone was testing everyone. We got a mix of truth and lies and fake and real backstories, and we learned again why slavery is just the absolute worst. If anyone has a favorite charity to support that fights modern day slavery, please drop its name in the comments, and let's all go donate in honor of the poor old nanny slave who keeps getting disrespected and grabbed by the throat. Anyway, join us next time for book 20. Guys, from here on out, it is intense, so just get yourselves ready. All right, I will see you all next time.